Hi folks, and welcome to Mountain Fun Life Kitchen once again. I'm Robert Ownby along with Mountain Man Wayne McCarter here. And he's going to be presenting some good old mountain cooking for you here, telling you, walking you through the routine. And we appreciate you joining us. And we do have a Mountain Fun Life t-shirt winner, and we're going to announce who that winner is a little bit later on. But right now, why don't you get on your texting and tweeting routine, and or the telephone, whatever, and let people know that the Mountain Fun Life Kitchen Cooking Show is on live, and we would appreciate that very much. We're going to go to an intro, and when we come back, we're going to tell you who the winner of the Mountain Fun Life t-shirt is.
Mountain. This attraction has it all, whether you're 2 years old or 90 years young, with hundreds of beautiful tropical birds and thousands of flowers, plants, and trees. Folks who visited our park have said, "I've never seen this many birds in one place. This must be what the Garden of Eden was like. The most beautiful and peaceful place I have ever been. These gardens rival the best. The best value in the Smokies. You'll want to visit Parrot Mountain and Gardens. Call or visit us online. We'll see you there."
All right, welcome back to our cooking show, Mountain Fun Life Kitchen right here. And hey, we are ready to go. And we want to say thank you, Parrot Mountain. And I've got to get up there. I've heard so much about it. I don't know why I hadn't been. But, oh, look right here now. Look right here. We do have a t-shirt winner. And Parrot Mountain, I will be getting up to see you folks as soon as I can. But we have a t-shirt winner, and our winner is Daniel Topham from way down in Australia, down and under. So we appreciate you following our programs, and I think you just had a birthday, so you getting a double. You getting a double here. You're getting.
We got him a shirt right here.
We got him covered. We got him covered. Yeah, a birthday gift too. So we wish you a happy birthday. We appreciate you, all of you who follow not only our Mountain Fun Life cooking here in our Mountain Fun Life Kitchen, but also Mountain Monday morning. Don't forget that, Mountain Monday morning at 9 a.m. And we appreciate all of you that follow the Mountain Monday morning.
You can come back this evening. There'll be another show.
Oh, there's going to be another cooking show, right?
Another cooking show. Let's not forget
we don't know what all's involved, and maybe we shouldn't give it away. Just let people know. We don't want to.
They might be a little bit better than tomorrow, but I'm old-fashioned.
Well,
can't help it. Born raised that way.
You can't beat old-fashioned cooking now.
No, it is.
Now I like some of the modern dishes too. Now that's fine too. But the old-fashioned cooking, that's just the way to go.
Exactly. I still like to live like I did back then,
Simple living.
These old mountains here was a good place to grow up.
Good place.
Now, I have been on out there in the world for a while, but I always come back here because it's just where I like.
Kind of gets in you.
Once you grew up here, it's hard to get away from.
Yeah, you can.
That's true, but
you can take a mountain boy out of the mountains, but you can't take the mountains out of his heart. I can tell you that right now.
And we do this morning. We want to talk a little bit about old mountain ways. I'm trying to do old mountain cooking here, and I'm going to have to.
The old timer,
I
an
can
old
hear-
mountain cooking. Oh, wow, look at that.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to have to stir them a little bit, maybe turn them down a touch.
Yeah, go down just a little. Looks like they're...
Oh, they're looking good.
Now,
And I can hear that. I like to keep them stirred. I don't want them scorched. But,
right. Now,
But today we're gonna. What I've got here, folks, is mixed beans, soup beans. The old.
that's
people
what I was
call
going to suggest. Just you let the people know what you got in this
yeah,
pot before they begin to get
yeah.
too suspicious.
them. Now I'm gonna talk a minute
No
about
roadkill or anything like that. It's just plain old.
People were poor, and these beans. I'm gonna show you a pack here. These are just regular pintos, which I like too. There's nothing wrong with pinto beans.
No. I
Now
love
dry
pintos.
beans, such as these, they take a little bit longer.
Yeah, of course. Now they can get them out of can, but now
But they ain't.
I'll warn you.
That is true.
As good as it may be, there's something you cannot compare it to what you cook.
Exactly.
There's just no comparison.
And see, even my grandmother, she had lived through the Great Depression.
Right.
She didn't trust the bank, didn't put her money in the bank, but she had food stacked everywhere.
My mother did
She
the
had
same
enough
thing.
food for years.
She would,
And-
my
and
mother
if-
would have food hiding
but you see,
in the closets and in the...
If we had went through
pantry.
that and we had a hard time as they did, we'd probably
We'd
store
probably
it
do the
up
same
too.
thing.
Probably
Yep.
be doing the same thing. But back in the day, they bought their pintos like this in a 50-pound burlap sack.
I remember that.
Okay.
I remember that.
Now, really, you have to pour these out in your hand. I pour them in my hand and look them good
You remember?
because the little rocks in there.
I remember having to help wash the beans and pick those little bitty pea gravel, I call them.
Well,
You pick those
it
little
was
pea
a
gravel,
rock,
little bitty thing.
Mhm.
And if you let one slip through and it wound up in your soup, in your
You'd
beans,
know it.
and you clamp down on that, ooh,
I don't like
man,
eating gravel, do you?
No, I don't like eating gravel.
But-
Now, you remember too when we used to get our flour in the big flour sacks and bags, and we go to the milling company, and we had the Temple, the old time Temple Milling Company down in Sevierville, where we go get our corn ground and all that, and pick up meal and flour, and they'd come in those big white flour sacks. Well, my mother used to save those, wash them real good, and maybe even use some dye and make the girls' dresses and even some of the shirts for the guys.
Oh yeah,
You-
they could. My grandmother, all the time, had an old quilt she was tacking.
My mother did the same thing.
You just
Quilt
you
rack in the
seem
living
so-
room would take up half the room. You have to
Exactly.
walk around it,
Isn't-
maneuver around it. And don't you bump my quilt rack, you'll cause me to stick my finger with the needle.
A little round rugs that
Ooh, I
always
used-
laid in front of the front
Yes.
door. I mean, it was just old ways, but these beans now, back then, they had to use what they had.
Right.
So they would, we've got a big ham bone, and things weren't so simple back then.
No.
A lot of people didn't have even electricity.
You made do with what you had, and you utilized every bit of anything that could be used. Even a beef bone,
But
something like
your
that. they were
hams
cooking.
were actually cured.
Right.
Now, they were either smoked in the smokehouse or they were salted.
Salt cured.
Country ham.
Salt
We
cured.
call them, yes, because you can't let flies. I know it's bad, but you can't let them get to your meat.
Yeah, we don't want to get too graphic.
No, we don't.
but people
But that's
know,
why,
people know what
that
we're
is
talking
why
about.
they done it.
Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't
Exactly.
freeze it. They couldn't stick it in
didn't
the
have-
refrigerator.
They didn't have freezers or anything like that.
My
They didn't have
brother's
the
place,
conveniences
my
that we
brother's
have.
place still has an old root cellar.
Root
When he
cellar?
bought it, the house had burned down. Nice place, but it actually has the old root cellar, and he likes to keep it up. But that was the way that we lived.
Now,
But we
folks,
seasoned Robert with what we had.
yeah, folks, the benefit of watching Mountain Fun Life cooking and kitchen is you also get these extra historical stories that
Yep.
and learn a little bit, or maybe a lot, hopefully, about the culture and how things were done here back before there were refrigerators. And I remember, you probably do too, but I remember when I was just a little kid that we had we called it an ice box that would be in the kitchen or out on the front porch. We had a covered front porch, and the ice man would come around. Oh, I don't remember. Probably every 2 weeks or so, 2 times, maybe 2 times a month. He'd bring that big block of ice, and there was a special area that he'd open that ice box up. We usually kept it on the front porch, so if we weren't there, he could still.
Probably was dry ice, though.
It probably was.
It's
But it would
colder
be.
and it looks
I
better.
remember it would be a huge block of ice that he would put in there.
You're a lot older than me.
And
I
I
never
would
seen
go out
that, but
there. I would go out there and I would
Yes.
open that door. And my mother caught me one day. She said, "Don't be holding that door open like that. It'll let all the cool air out. Our milk and stuff that we have in there will spoil, and the iceman won't be back until several days." And so I remember that. That's some good old times.
I never seen that. I mean, but what I did see
Yeah, why don't
was
you
the
remember
old,
that? You look older than me.
Well, I'm not.
You're not.
No.
Okay. Well,
but
my
what
mistake.
we did have, the freezer was about this high and about so wide, and that thing would freeze over all the way. They'd have to defrost that thing all the time.
And I remember growing
All the time.
the beans in the garden, and we would make our own soup beans by letting the hulls kind of dry out. They would have to hull them out, and then we'd make our soup beans out of that then, and cook them just like we do these. And I remember having to help shell and hull those beans out, and my fingers would get so they'd just get nearly blistered and sore from doing that. But it was an interesting life, and it's something once you've lived it, you just don't forget it.
Well, no.
You just don't forget
No. See, back in their day, when they were doing things like this, a lot of times they didn't have, but they did not use shortening like we do today. They
No.
used rendered lard. Now, rendered lard ain't nothing but animal fat, and they would throw a big spoon in there for
Right.
seasoning. If they had ham or a ham bone,
Ham bone,
they'd put it in there.
that's right.
Anything that you can, bacon, they could use bacon. Bacon grease, they'd use it. But that's how old people lived. They used what they had.
Exactly.
And I don't, maybe you might consider people who eat beans and cornbread a little poor. But, I'm not by no means poor. The Lord's blessed me, but I still like my beans and my cornbread.
It might have been, in one sense, a necessity at that particular time, but it was good. It was really good food. It might have been not much. It might not have been a New York strip steak at every meal, but it was something that you could take pride in it especially when you would grow your own and prepare
We
your
might
own
have had
food.
piece of chicken time or two. Huh?
Yes, so we grew our own chickens, and I've helped. I won't go through the details on that. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
I've been there, done that.
Preparing the chicken for the table. Now that wasn't an experience within itself, but I remember when we would pick the beans, the green beans and everything, break them up, and we get a big wash tub and build a fire on the outside, or have a wood stove on the outside that we'd put a big tub on, and we'd put those beans in the can down in there to cook them, to get the cans to seal. And you had to put towels and cloth and so forth in between those jars, big mason jars, and my mother always used the big ones because there were 6 kids and 3 adults living there. My grandpa lived with us. And what she would do, she would pack those, take cloth like that or something, put in between those jars, because when it start boiling, you know, those jars clang together, and it did happen a few times. It'd break and you'd lose your food then. You'd have to throw it away because too many glass chips.
We done the same thing, but it was a big steel pot, and we'd build a fire under that.
Right.
And you know, they just really blanched the beans off.
Right.
You didn't really cook your beans there. You
No.
just heat them up, kill the bacteria, seal them off, and put them up.
You'd heat it enough too, and the
kill the bacteria.
heat would cause the lids to seal, and as they'd seal, you'd hear them start pop, 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 pop. And that used to fascinate me. Those lids.
It was.
You knew when they were sealing because you hear that little click,
It
little
was.
pop.
I've seen jelly made. A lot of times I've seen jam made.
Right.
You know, and the only difference is jam has actual berry and jelly has the juice.
Right.
The only difference.
You get your and preserves kind of the same way.
Exactly.
My mother was she always came up with her own unique ideas about canning, jelly making, jams, and preserves, and she actually became the in-charge jelly maker for Smoky Mountain Farms at the Jelly House. A lot of people may not realize this, but if you've been to the Smoky Mountain Farms out on 321 in Gatlinburg, well, when that first opened up, my mother was in charge of the whole process, the recipes and everything. I don't know whether they still have her recipe books in there or not, but she was the one who was the chief jelly maker for Smoky Mountain Farms, and she made jellies and jams for, I don't know, about 4 presidents, I believe. President Reagan, President Carter. I don't even remember now. I think Nixon might have been. But anyway, she has executive letters to where that she made jelly for about, I know of at least 4 of the presidents of the United States. And that, to me, was just always so fascinating that my mother was making jelly for United States presidents. Okay. Let's, you want to tell the folks about our,
Well, I want to talk
here?
just a little bit about how it was for us.
Right.
But you know, here in today's world, ladies and the women work hard as the man, sometimes more hours. They don't have time to stand and do this. They can't cook them ahead of time. But what they can do is they can put these in their crock pot.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anything else to season them with, I'd like to show you this. It's not a bouillon cube. It's called Better Than Bouillon, and it is a ham base.
Okay.
Now that's a good seasoning. You can use this for a lot of things. If you just like red eye gravy, you can put a little bit of that in the pan, make you some you know, that and a little coffee, and you got red eye gravy. They make these. Now it ain't just ham base. You can buy roasted turkey base. You can buy chicken, roasted chicken. You can buy beef. All of these in Better Than Bouillon.
Now, in case some of you are wondering about the red eye gravy, that's not like the gravy. Red eye gravy, if you're not familiar with, that's where you cook the big slab of country ham, and then you take black coffee and you pour it in over that and let it cook into the ingredients.
Red eye gravy was something to sop at your biscuit.
It was a biscuit sopping concoction.
That's exactly what it was.
And yeah, that.
You see, us old people, not us old people, but the ones older than me.
You speak for yourself.
Brother, they knew how to cook.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they
knew how to take what they had and make a meal out of it. Now, I did not fry potatoes, and I started to bring my leftover baked potatoes from last night and do some home fries, but time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, you got...
And I did not do that.
Like cooking the
did.
beans. Like cooking the beans. Now, with the fried potatoes that we did on our last show, you can cook those in about 30 minutes, about the length of the show. But now these, you're going to require about an hour or more.
Or
more than that.
Now,
Possibly 2.
I don't like to parboil my beans.
You
I
don't
like
want to cook
turn
them.
mine on.
You
Just
don't
like I
want
said, I
cook
like
them
to bring them to a boil, change the water out, cover them good again, and then once it comes to a boil, turn it down to just a simmer.
Right.
Now it's going to take a lot more than an hour.
Now, we always call these soup beans, too. We always refer to them as soup beans, and the reason for that is to get these to really cook off good and to have enough soup, you know, for your cornbread. You can kind of crumble your cornbread in it. And not only it's for cooking purposes, too. You want to keep the water level over the beans about
And I put them an inch and each
about an
knife
inch
over, yeah.
And you want to keep that at
Keep
that
it in
level
there to
about
keep your
all
beans
times,
from
'cause
scorching.
If they cook down too much, and you begin to see just the beans on top with no water over them, you can pretty much rest assured that your beans on the bottom
That'll
are
happen when you ain't got
scorching.
enough water. Yeah.
That'll happen when you've not got enough water.
Beans swell. Now that's a small bean, but once you cook them, they'll swell twice their size, if not more.
And they do need stirred occasionally, regardless of the amount of water.
They do.
Because
but
if you don't keep those
know,
turned on the bottom, they
it's
will
like,
scorch.
It's like we cooked these pintos instead of my mixed beans.
Right, but you got
Okay.
mixed. This pot here is
This pot
mixed
is
beans.
mixed beans.
These got on the stove cooking.
These are just pintos. But
Okay.
when you do these, you can have pintos and potatoes and fix your meal, but there'll be beans left over.
And the pintos are if you're not familiar with those, it's the tan, the brown colored, all brown. The mixed beans, you get the white, like the
Great Northern
Great Northern, along with
in with it. White beans,
mixed in with it.
white beans, and
And
brown
you got
beans.
the little
mixed.
navy beans now. If you don't soak
Yeah.
those little fellas, ooh, now you talk about some cooking time.
Yeah.
They're small, and you would think they would cook double time, but they take about twice the time. But to the benefit of cooking those,
Women didn't work back then.
my wife.
And what they would do, Brother Robert, when we were children, the older women cooking, when this pot of beans was done, this would go to the side and another started.
Right.
Because they had beans quite often. I mean, it was not quite often. Sometimes it's what they had. I mean, like I say, we were poor. Now, I had friends that were poorer than me, but they were my brothers, you know, my friends. Eat many meals in their home. I've seen these beans cooked so many different ways. The old women knew how to cook a bean.
Right.
But now, you always had the soup. And we have the soup is because I've got another little in the oven there now. I made some cornbread muffins.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for the
Not a
folks
pan
to
of
see
cornbread.
that.
I do like my cornbread.
Cornbread muffins.
But I made muffins just to show. But I like to put that in there, break it up, and I like my cornbread to be soaked up in the soup.
Right, I do too. That's the reason you have to
and
have
your
enough
beans.
soup for it to really, you know, I love crumbling that cornbread up in there and just stirring it in with that soup. It
Now,
just does something to it that just gives it that.
another thing
bean flavor.
Another thing about cooking beans is if you add your salt too quick, your bean will be tough.
Right.
So
And
you
if
don't want to pour it full of salt.
If your beans get too mushy, if you overcook them, you can always put them in a pan, fry them a little bit, and make the refried beans. You know, you can kind of squash them, make refried.
You
I always
can.
got this little funny thing. Well, it may not be. It may just be corny to some people. When someone's serving me refried beans, I say, you know, if they'd have cooked them right to begin, or if they'd fried them right to begin with, they wouldn't have to refry them like that. But anyway, but there is a reason for that. I see you got an onion on the set over here. What's that all
I
about?
like a big old sweet Vidalia onion with my beans and
Now,
cornbread.
do you? Sometimes I will cook the onion like I do my
you-
potatoes. I'll cook it in
As
with
kids, we got it in
beans.
just slice an onion.
So
I mean, it wasn't diced up, wasn't chopped up. It was just sliced, and that's the way we had it.
slice and dice.
Now, I started to. I pulled them out of the garden yesterday, and they're good. But I pulled some green onions up yesterday, and I started to bring them. And show.
Yeah, I was over there when you did that. He lives next door. I
had to
kind of
take
keep
him up,
check
so
on him. He was digging onions yesterday. And you know, those got up, those things, man, they were growing.
Yeah, he's growing pretty good.
The cold weather didn't hurt them a bit, did it?
Nope. No, it didn't.
Didn't hurt them a bit. They were growing really good.
They come up from last year.
Yeah.
I planted them actually last year, but they did it.
Came up on their own.
Came up on their own this year, and they good. They're a little strong, but hey, I will not buy a green onion out of the store. But boy, will I eat one out of the garden.
Oh, I love them. They just seem to have so much better flavor out of the garden.
I don't grow a lot, but I do, as me and my wife will say.
Oh, look at this now. Let's.
I think I'm going to just cut them off.
Can we tilt this just a little bit and let the people?
Well, they are.
To see, yeah. Can we get it? Can we tilt it over just a little so the camera?
Me, I don't know what I've done with all my rags.
I got one here in my hand.
Okay.
We'll clean that up later. Just
that pipe is pretty well hot. That's a good. See how I got my beans, and I've got
the water. You got about an inch of water over them.
Yeah, that's enough for some good.
And
I put a lot of ham in mine. I know you don't care for it, but
now what I do with mine, I get it is, but I get the I like turkey bacon. Sometimes if I can get a good beef bacon, but turkey bacon, I will kind of take out some slices and kind of chop that up and put it in late cooking. But you don't want to put them in until the beans are about just like
that's
with the
what
potatoes.
You have. Old people would cut bacon and put it in there.
Right, and I do with the turkey bacon.
Like I said, a little bit, but they all save their bacon grease.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they would season their potatoes, beans, whatever they were cooking with that.
Exactly.
They used everything. They didn't waste it.
They didn't have a whole lot, brother.
No, they sure did.
And I understand. I mean, you know,
you could have told me that lid was hot.
I'm a grown man, but I don't ever remember being hungry in my home. I mean,
no.
There was always something. Now, we did keep the old biscuits left over and cornbread rolled up in a towel on a plate. And Dad always kept, he always kept a cake baked and on the table. It was always there. Now, something that we did keep on the table was sorghum molasses. Jellies.
We used to grow our own sugar cane, and of course we didn't own one of the horse-drawn or tractor-drawn grinding mills. We would borrow one. We had a neighbor that we could borrow. But I've helped. I had to get on the old mule and keep that mule walking around and around, pulling the long pole that came out that turned the grinding mill, and my older brother would be feeding the sugar cane through there, and my mother and one of my sisters, or maybe both of them, would be catching the juice as it came out in a pot on the other side, putting it in a big bin, the boiling bin, where you boiled it off, and then you had to have a skimmer to skim the foam that would come to the top. That had to be gotten off there. And now that's an interesting process, and there's a lot of work to that. But I remember we had one.
The old mule, though, always just went around by itself. I never seen anybody
The one we had wouldn't, though. He was stubborn. And I would kick him a little bit in the side, and have a little switch. And, he would stub up. He'd get tired, and he'd just stand there, And, of course, the whole process would stop then. And my dad came up with this ingenious idea. He got a stick and ran it through his bridle where it came across the top and tied an ear of corn on the other end of it. And the mule, trying to get that ear of corn, he'd start walking forward. My dad could come up with some of the most simple but ingenious things like that to, using your head, what am I going to do to get this stubborn mule to go?
He's on up in the 80s and the 90s before we really had a tractor.
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen a lot of hard work go. My older sister's passed, our rest her soul. She was a canner, and her husband built a little old house out. It was actually just a kitchen,
Right.
but it had your cook stove, everything in there, and that's where she canned. And she done that till she got to, she wasn't able to do it no more. She would milk that old cow, make butter. I mean, brother, they stuck to the old times.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, to them, you know, I heard her tell me one time that you don't make my family mad, bake some of them canned biscuits.
Canned biscuits.
Yeah.
That was a no-no in the mountain. You did not.
No,
If you got your
biscuit
biscuit,
was a joke.
that was for city dwellers. You know,
Well-
you didn't get biscuits out of a can. Well, I see our time is getting away from us, so you might want to.
We're about done here anyway.
Yeah,
We've
we're
showed
about
them a lot.
done.
I'm not going to slice this up and stink. People know that I do have this big old sweet onion, and you can cut that, peel that, and just slice it, or you can any way in the world you want to put it with your beans.
You don't serve beans without a big slice of onion with
And
it.
I'm
You just
gonna-
don't do it.
I'm going to get by you here.
Okay. Just step
And
right on
I'm
by.
gonna
You
get-
got something tucked away in the oven over there. I know.
I've got here, and we're just going to take them out, and we'll show what I have, and if you have, and you can see I'm very messy, but these are just cornbread muffins, and they're just like a piece of cornbread, but they're in a muffin.
In a muffin
In a
pan
muffin
rather
pan.
than in the
Exactly.
square cornbread pan.
And they are just as good as a big old chunk of cornbread.
Right. And so if you have never had, you know, around here, I don't know of anyone, people who are raised here, that don't know what soup beans are, pinto beans, how to cook them. But if you've never had this meal, maybe somehow or other you've missed this in your life.
Even
You
if
shouldn't
you
miss it any
even if
longer.
you
It's
use
delicious.
Lux canned beans,
Yeah, you can
there,
spice it
right
up a little
there's a
bit.
great little seasoning. Just a little bit of it in there, and you're good to go.
If you want to get your beans out of a can from the store, you can get close to spicing it up a little bit and making it taste like
you're gonna have to cook
homemade,
them a
but
little while though.
You're gonna have to
You
cook them
can't
a little
just-
while. The seasoning's
it ain't
got
a
to be
heat and eat
cooked in.
kind of
No. Heat and eat is no way to get the seasoning. You cannot get the seasoning in there. And a lot of people wonder, well, why do my beans, I got out of a can, but why do they not have the certain flavor? Well, that's the reason, is it takes that seasoning cooking into your product to really make it taste good.
It does.
But anyway,
and Lux puts a little pork in theirs.
They do.
And
of
they're
course, you
good.
can get
They're
the
good.
vegetarian or however you like if you prefer to get the store beans. But anyway, what we have here was one of the major staple meals of mountain and country living in this area, and it's something to be proud of.
Well,
it's actually a heritage.
I'm
a
not
cooking
ashamed of the
heritage.
way I was raised, brother.
No, it was actually, this was one of the most enjoyable meals because I loved the flavor and I loved the fact that it was our means of survival, knowing how to live when times were tough, and we had the know-how to even grow our own and how to process and get them ready to have the finished product. So we hope that you have enjoyed the Mountain Fun Life Kitchen Cooking Show today and Chef Mountain Man, his expertise in mountain cooking. And we hope that you don't forget another cooking show coming up later on today. And congratulations to Daniel Topham down in Australia for winning the Mountain Fun Life t-shirt.
Get on there and comment.
Get
Don't
on and
matter.
comment. We may give
you
another
don't-
one away
If you
sometime.
don't comment, well, then we're going to be done.
Click and share. Go to YouTube
Exactly.
and do all that and let everybody know what's going on here at Mountain Fun Life. And we appreciate it. Say bye, Mountain Man.
Bye, Mountain Man.
Parrot Mountain. This attraction has it all, whether you're 2 years old or 90 years young, with hundreds of beautiful tropical birds and thousands of flowers, plants, and trees. Folks who visited our park have said, I've never seen this many birds in one place. This must be what the Garden of Eden was like. The most beautiful and peaceful place I have ever been. These gardens rival the best. The best value in the Smokies. You'll want to visit Parrot Mountain and Gardens. Call or visit us online. We'll see you there.
Spread the word.